Chaos Rising is nearly here, and while it unfortunately won't fully upend this current metagame, there are still a number of nice cards here that give a solid boost to older decks. Today we're going over 5 of the biggest winners within Chaos Rising. Like, comment, subscribe, because quite frankly, I need this. At number 5 we have Arboliva. Arboliva, which is not pronounced Arboliva despite being an olive tree, has a bit of an interesting one here. Right now, Arboliva is played alongside Meganium and Overpawn to take out the big threats that Arboliva itself can't really handle, but Chaos Rising will give us access to Beedrill EX. Beedrill, for only 1 grass energy, does 110 damage times the number of Beedrill you have in play. Thanks to Forest Vitality, it's not too hard to get a bunch of Beedrill out, so cutting out your Overpawns, Meganiums, and unnecessary grass energy for a 4/4/4 line of Beedrill serves as another solid partner for Arboliva. You actually save a decent amount of deck space doing this, enough to fit a few Dunsparce here as a draw engine. While saying it would give any VGC player an aneurysm, Beedrill is actually far better at taking hits than Ogerpon is while still hitting comparable damage numbers. There is legitimate merit to playing with Beedrill over the current Ogerpon list. Still, Ogerpon is a bit more consistent and is currently the more popular way to play Arboliva in Japan. Really, Beedrill isn't a full-on upgrade as much as it is more of a side grade. You can play this if you want, and I personally can't wait to try out Beedrill for myself, but it's not an objective improvement, which is why Arboliva is only at number 5 here. At number 4 we have Ceruledge. Ceruledge isn't really a meta contender at the moment, but it's still a strong deck with a very linear game plan, making it perfect for new players or just anyone wanting to turn their brain off for a little bit. The big card for Ceruledge is the new Stadium, Prism Tower. This card has a whole combo with Mega Floette, which you don't need to worry about because it's really bad, but the original Prism Tower lets you discard 2 cards to draw 1 card. Ceruledge, being a deck that wants to discard as much energy as possible as quickly as possible, will gladly pitch 2 energies to get 1 card deeper into the deck. Prism Tower is somehow one of the better stadiums right now, so a lot of decks are experimenting with it. For example, Team Rocket decks can play it to get energy in the discard and immediately accelerate with Spite Ops. And in terms of actual competitive success, I'm sure Team Rocket will be using this card far more than Ceruledge will. But that said, Ceruledge is probably the deck that appreciates this card the most, which is why I'm giving it this spot. But keep in mind, Team Rocket, you can put that here too. Also, quick shout out to Nitro Energy. This card is a special fire energy whose bonus is never actually being used by Ceruledge. And before you ask, no, we are not using Raging Amethyst. The fact that it's a special energy means it can't be retrieved by Night Stretcher, which makes it objectively worse than basic fire energy in a Ceruledge deck. But some players are using it anyways, which I think is really funny, so I'm giving it a little shout here. In 3rd place, I have the Metal Toolbox deck, specifically the ones using Metal Maker Metang as acceleration, but both Archaludon and Steven's Metagross have also seen some nice buffs here. For Metang builds, we have this new Metagross. The Metallic Hammer attack is pretty expensive, but Metang is more than capable of accelerating the energy to use it. For 3 metal and a colorless, Metallic Hammer lets you deal 150 damage, plus 150 more if you're willing to discard 3 metal energy from Metagross. This isn't bad at all. Metal decks in general have to resort to pretty awkward tricks to hit big damage numbers, so being able to hit a straight 300, even if it's really expensive, is pretty huge for this deck. Additionally, Fill-Up is a great supporter for all kinds of metal decks, simply letting you accelerate 2 metals from the discard pile to one of your Pokemon. This can charge the aforementioned Metagross, but really any metal Pokemon you can think of appreciates an effect like this. Lastly, Magnetic Metal Energy gives whichever metal Pokemon is attached to a free retreat. This is a very nice bonus. It's a bit awkward since all of the powerful metal acceleration we have only works on basic metal energy, but this card has still managed to find its way into Archaludon and Steven's Metagross lists. Also, this Deoxys attack form, if you can get an absurd amount of psychic energy on it, can hit both the active and the bench for 120. This is another card that has seen some amount of experimentation in Steven's Metagross decks, though it's really not the most popular thing right now. In our number 2 slot, we have Slowking. Slowking is a very funny deck that uses the Seek Inspiration attack to copy attacks from whichever non-Rulebox Pokemon is on top of your deck. This new Deoxys speed form is decent early game, working with Telepath energy and helping you refill your hand while knocking out Obidoo in 1 hit. However, the real big buff for Slowking comes in the form of Metagross. Yes, the same Metagross that we just covered for metal decks. You see, if Slowking tries to copy Metagross's Metallic Hammer attack, you'd think not having any metal energy would stop you from hitting for more than 150 damage. However, the card was ruled a little differently. When Slowking copies Metallic Hammer, you're allowed to declare that you wish to discard 3 metal energy from Slowking. Of course, no energy will be discarded, since Slowking won't have any metal energy attached, but you still get the 150 damage boost. This is a very strange ruling. It's the same reason why Wellspring Mask Overpunk can use Torrential Pump's bonus, even when less than 3 energy is attached to it. But yeah, before, Slowking decks needed to use Conkeldurr to hit 250 damage, now they can just hit for 300 by using Metagross instead. This is probably the single clearest, most direct upgrade in this entire list. A plus 50 damage boost is huge, and means big basic mega evolutions aren't safe from Slowking anymore. Before we get to number 1, I want to talk about a few other upgrades which are pretty nice, but not enough to make the list. Mega Starmie Frostlass decks can make use of the new special bubbly energy. which makes the attached Pokemon immune to special conditions. This is pretty much a direct upgrade over basic water for these decks, but it's not like special conditions are really relevant, not yet anyway, so it's not really a significant upgrade for these decks. Delphox is a very cool card which I'd love to talk about. Discarding a basic fire energy from your hand lets you draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. You can see how this could be very strong in Mega Charizard decks. You can flood the board with energy, then refill your hand with even more energy or, you know, good cards. But that said, Charizard still isn't a particularly great deck right now, and another Stage 2 line is the last thing this deck needs. Additionally, the new Nitro energy seems like it'd be a great fit for this deck, but Oricorio only accelerates basic fire energy, so it's actually very awkward to use. Same goes for Ethan's Ho and Magcargo decks. By the way, Magcargo is still just better than Mega Charizard. Like, I know Charizard is Charizard, but like, this is in fact a better card. I don't know what to tell you, dude. I don't know why they made Charizard so bad. Now, I could be really cynical and say that the new Special Red card makes Dragapult the biggest winner in the set, and I don't think that would be totally wrong, but Special Red card is kind of good in everything. Like, every deck is using this. It's no Iono, but it's still much needed hand disruption. It's just that now players can put themselves behind on prizes, destroy your hand, and then use Rose's Encouragement to wipe out the rest of your board, so have fun with that. But anyway, Patrat. This shuts down Monkey Dory. Both it and the other Monkey Dory counter in Battle Cage get kind of owned by Rocket's Watchtower, so as a result this card really isn't moving the needle at all in terms of how often people are playing Monkey Dory, but right now Patrat is only really being used in Okidogi because Okidogi has exactly 230 HP, so Monkey Dory would move over 30 and then Phantom Dive takes you out in one hit, so in that specific instance Patrat is better than Battle Cage, but otherwise this card is kind of struggling to be any real use. Now let's get to number 1. Unlike Phantasmal Flames in Perfect Order, the main headliner for Chaos Rising is actually good. Greninja decks were previously pretty fun and powerful, though kind of invalidated by the existence of Gardevoir EX. With Gardevoir gone, Greninja is already feeling a lot better. Now with the new cards in Chaos Rising, Greninja has risen to the meta relevance it truly deserves. There are actually a few different ways to play around Greninja. The new 70 HP Froakie is a necessity with all the Dragapult running around, and the summoning Jutsu Frogadier is certainly better than what we had before as well. However, Mega Greninja is actually not needed at all. There are a number of Greninja decks seeing success despite not using it in their deck lists. Luckily, Mega Greninja is in fact strong enough to be worth playing. A typical Greninja deck will play both the regular and the Mega, and you'd use whichever one you need more in the moment. Mega Greninja's Mortal Shuriken lets you discard a basic water to play 6 damage counters on any one of your opponent's Pokemon. One Ninja Spinner lets you return an energy attached Greninja to the hand to deal 200 damage. The obvious downside here is that this card is basically just Dragapult EX at home. It's so similar, in fact, that one of the more popular ways to play Greninja is alongside Dragapult, so maybe Pult is just the biggest winner of this set. But Greninja is also very popular alongside the Dunsparce and Dusknoir, also very common partners for Dragapult. Yikes. But I don't want to sell the deck short here. The thing that makes Mega Greninja more interesting than Dragapult is that access to the original Greninja EX. Mega Kangaskhan, which loves to sit in the active, is now a huge liability since Greninja can knock it out in one hit while simultaneously searching any card you want from your deck. Mega Greninja can put 6 damage counters on the bench, and regular Greninja's Mirage Barrage can continue to wreak havoc on your opponent's board. Being water lets you fit in small lines of Mega Frostlass or even Mega Starmie as surprise attacking options. And Palafin, I don't think this is the best way to play Greninja, but like, if you're already playing the water Pokemon and the Dunsparce, maybe it's worth a shot. The point I'm trying to make is, Mega Greninja is an incredibly versatile card. I honestly don't think we even know the best way to play it yet. Everything just feels super open-ended at the moment, and I'm very interested in seeing the direction this deck takes, although I really hope it doesn't just end up as another Pult variant, because that's a very, very real possibility right now. Also, great catchnet, big catchnet. People said this would be good in Greninja decks, but none of them are actually playing it, so yeah. That's all. If I missed any, feel free to comment what you think the best card in the set is and why it's actually Avalugg. Thanks, bye, please subscribe.